I have to say sorry, I'm so old-fashioned, I still use paper. I'm really old-fashioned using paper, and I tried to do it like a good TV moderator, so I have the non-event logo on my card. And before we start, so I'm really happy that I'm able to be here. And many thanks to Morten and Hendrik and the great Inkish team to make all that happen. I can see that all of us, we are in a good mood, a good karma, and this is important to bring the industry and all of us forward. Before I start as a master of the Honoree ceremony, which I want to transform into a wonderful conversation, I have to highlight that because it's a non-event, so this is also a non-award. And I like that, yeah? And I like the fact that there was no jury selecting 5,700 candidates. And Morten and we were talking about it a couple of months ago, or almost a year ago, and we created a list of maybe 100 people. And then we said, skip it, we have those 3 candidates. And they are here, and I'm very happy. So Jakob is on stage, Naresh will follow, and then we have Pat McGrew. You know all of them, and you have all the curriculum vitae information in the program. And I want to make a personal comment before we start. And so Morten mentioned that I had really that massive heart operation, and it's unbelievable, exactly 5 weeks ago. I had an experience which was wonderful. When they got me prepared for the surgery, I was lying down, and a young man came to me, leaned over me and said, very, very kindly, "Good day, dear Andreas Weber. My name is," I call him Hans Müller. "I'm your heart-lung machine technician. Your heart-lung machine technician." And then I started to sleep because I got the narcosis, and this was my last impression. This friendly face, and he was driving a huge machine, and this was the heart-lung machine, and I was 2 hours. The heart-lung machine took over the work of my heart. In that meantime, they repaired it. It was amazing, and after 8 days in the clinic, I was able to leave, and I got a 3 weeks special treatment, and I'm fine so far. And what was wonderful for me, I got to know great, helpful people. And despite everything, I feel great today. I also owe this my doctor, Sarah Gabriel, and her partner, David Sonntag, was already on stage. And I made that decision to join 3 days after my surgery, lying there painful during the night. I said, at 4 o'clock in the morning, you have to join the non-event. And later on, a couple of hours later on, I had a video conference with Sarah, and I said, "Sarah, my doctor, do you like crazy things, funny stuff?" And she said, "Yes, for sure. So join me, we go to Copenhagen." And here we are. So special applause for this, guys. In former times, VIPs like me, we would have big, tall guys wearing guns and sunglasses and talking to the watch as bodyguards. Now we have medicines and doctors. That's how we change our life. Why I'm telling you this, I think in medicine it's similar like in our print industry, because 2 things are vitally important. First of all, the best technology and tools that reliably do what they are supposed to do. This is not normal, but supposed to do. And second, the human care that unites us. That is really important in any case. And so I thought about what is our motto. We had this motto for the morning conflict, And our motto for our discussion conversations here is be more human. I think that's necessary. And when I'm going back, I have 50 years in my career because I started so early with 14 years. This was always the thing driving me, be more human, this wonderful relationship print is able to create. Even if you give a printed piece away, you build up a relationship. And to talk to all those PSPs, suppliers, and wonderful people like you around the globe was really helpful for my whole life. So I'm grateful and humbled for that. That was my personal comment. I hope you like it. And I also had a fantasy. When I was preparing the discussion, I had a fantasy. And I thought about maybe our print world is like a human body. And then what or who are the legs? And the legs for me are the suppliers and all those technology providers and enablers. Maybe the upper part of the body and the arms are the print service providers. But we still have other important elements. And there we start with Jakob. He is for me something like the brain. Naresh is for me something like, in combination, the mind and the immune system. You know, brain and this relates. And for sure, Pat McGrew is the heart of everything. She is so sweet. Special applause for all three of them. And I also did a catalog of 250 questions, and I skipped it away, and I make some notes, and the notes are blah, 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 and then this part is done very quickly. So we can start, and Jacob is already introduced. I sit down for a moment. And I thought about what is a good question, a good very first question.
May I say something before you start the question? Is it open? Yeah. Okay. Two things. Two things. The first one, some night, some place, I don't remember where I was, Mr. Weber calls me and asks me whether I want to join as an honoree the conference. Now I realize that maybe he was lying 180 degrees and some technician was doing, I don't know, but this was okay. Anyhow, I'm happy I agreed. The second thing about the metaphor, so I hope that between the three of us, we combine brain, heart, and everything, because just brain is like a robot. So I hope I'm a little bit more human than just brain. That's it.
Thank you. Special applause. That was great. And you know, even if I'm a little bit gray and white, I feel like an internet nerd and social media nerd. And when we would have a boot camp here, social media boot camp, people introduce themselves using 3 hashtags. And I thought, besides the fact that for me, you are the brain, I thought 3 hashtags are inventor, thinker, enabler. Do you agree? Inventor, maybe the thinker first, then the inventor, then the enabler. That's Jacob, like I know him for almost 25 years. We know each other, and we had nice adventures around the globe. And so my initial question, which came up in my mind, is, and you can say yes or no.
That's all what I'm allowed to say? Yes or no? Okay.
Yes or no? That question. Then you can talk whatever you like to talk. And a question could be, what would you say if somebody asked you, are you the new Gutenberg? And in that sense, that Gutenberg was the enabler for movable fonts. He was not the inventor of print. And you are an enabler for movable data to get printed and also used for cross-media. Would you be happy with that question? Yes or no?
Not completely. In other words, honestly, I'm very humbled by that, but You make the comparison, it's much broader, the impact of Gutenberg, I believe, than what we did. We are in a narrower space, but in our space, yes, I think that in our space we actually created novel and innovative things that are enabling certain unique capabilities in personalization, in cross-media, and all of that stuff, and that I do agree with the notion that we invented it, yes.
Yeah, and this is a very important step in the history of printing, I'm sure. Even if we are not that far right now than we expected. That's the beauty of the print market for maybe 500 years. You always think things are getting developed much faster, and then it takes more time.
Yeah, I mean, there are two, I can speak freely, correct? There are two, let's see if I can, two important phenomena. One has to do with personalization in printing, what people call variable data printing. And to make it easy to everybody, if you look at the presses, the digital presses that are in the market today, inkjet and non-inkjet and Lambda, they're top quality. Practically, they're like offset quality. And they're very high speed. So in order to use these machines for offset replacement, you don't need any other innovation from variable data. And they will have use as offset replacement. But when you want to do personalization, to engage people with creative stuff, not just with relevant content and all of that stuff, these machines can do that. And for that, you need variable data printing technology that is different from the transactional printing technology. Transactional is also variable data, but it's highly limited in terms of its creativity and all of that stuff. And we were, between me and my team, of course, we were in the process of inventing a new style of VDP, what I call object-based variable data. And it happened at Creo, at Cytex actually. And we created the languages and the upstream application, some of you may know Darwin and things of that nature. And it became eventually practically a standard because Adobe at some point embraced the whole notion of object-based variability in its PDF, PDFVT, et cetera, et cetera.
So we talk about something which happened almost 30 years ago.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So these innovations are started there, and other companies were working. As I mentioned, Adobe. When we founded XMPie, we wanted to go on the same thing in order to bring to market that type of variability, but we also wanted to do the cross-media. And that's, I think, an important thing that the printing industry sometimes is obsessed by itself, in itself. In other words, doesn't see that there is a digital market out there, and the digital market is not a side project. This is the main thing. Everything is digital. I believe most of the decision makers in customers of printers are younger generation. They feel very natural in digital world. So bringing together personalization in printing and in digital media was something that made sense logically, but is actually very, very important. And I think that what we did, we looked at the digital world and say, we want to be like that. And so whatever we did in XMPie are mechanisms that allow us to play digital and print in the same framework, et cetera, et cetera. But it's because we said the digital world is the mainstream. And so, yes, we did some significant thing in cross-media, and yeah.
Yeah, in any case, you founded, in your team, you founded a startup, and I think it was during Drupa 2004. I can't remember, you or Dan Doran, they asked me, are you able to answer some questions on the phone? Somebody will call you. And this short conversation took almost 2 hours, and it was a professional investment guy from Jerusalem Capital Fund, I think. And
Jerusalem Venture Partners.
Yeah, okay, partners, yeah. And So his questions were really good. And I was rethinking during that call, I will never forget this, what is the real value of print related to all those future possibilities and future developments. And I think I did a good job. Did you get money from them or?
You did a good job. Getting investment was critical for us.
Yeah.
And so absolutely.
But it worked. And
yeah.
that means there was a good concept. But a concept as a standalone has no value.
I'll add one more thing here, is that you're all familiar with people in the print industry, analysts and others, that repeatedly explain how uniquely valuable print is. It's tactful. It smells. It's something you put on your coffee table. You can go back to it. All of these things. And these are all things that people from the print industry are putting on the table all the time, doing research, etc., etc. There is even research that proves that when print is combined with digital media, it's even more effective. And there are a lot of people talking about how important is direct mail as an engager to digital dialogues. What I believe, now this is personal and it relates to what I did in XMPie, but you can, of course, criticize me. What I believe is that people in the print industry in general, okay, not specific, in general, they do not understand that in order for print to be integrated into customer experiences and all of these modern things, it has to play like digital. It cannot be that someone wants to do some campaign that involves digital and print, but in order to do print, you need to prepare the list 2 days in advance and give me this, all of that stuff that was the norm for, let's say, transactional printing, but it's not the norm for the people who are actually creating, managing, and driving customer experiences campaign. Print has to have, no, it's not enough to say that it has all of these unique values. It has to integrate into their world in a normal, simple way, in the not normal, simple way, in the digital way. And that's why what I call the question is how the data and the composition are working together. And that's also a different style, part of what we did. I call it online data. That's it.
Yeah, it's great, and I agree with what you say. And my observation at that time was when the social media platform started, one of the very first killer application was exactly that, creating online photo books. Getting all your images out of Facebook or other platforms, creating with one push, the photo book is done. That means on the consumer side, there is no doubt about print and they have no concerns. For them, it's already part of their digital experience. But what do you think, why printers and maybe also customers of printers are still not convinced that variable data printing makes sense as a mainstream thing?
I don't know as a mainstream. I mean, I know the customers that we had at XMPie, and not all of them, but many of them are innovators, are people that understood why they need to shift. They understood that the world is changing. And for some of them, I know for sure that by the fact that they engage with XMPie software, it allowed them to change themselves and to drive visionary agendas. Whether many people, I don't know the proportion of people in the print industry that are not practicing, let's say, or not trying to practice, let's say, variability. I don't know. Is it a small proportion?
It's the major part don't do it. Okay. they go for short run and on demand.
Yes, that's, well, okay. It's let's say it's normal, because to take digital and use it instead of offset for short run, it's straightforward. You don't need to do so much changes. But in order to do good, to become a good provider of services for personalization, and if you want cross-media and all of that stuff, you need to invest to become more sophisticated And personally, I believe that those that do not invest eventually will vanish because the world is moving to that. Talk to someone in marketing, forget about print, just marketing. It's all personalized. Not necessarily with your name, but it's all personal. It's all reflecting whatever you did in the last minute, the next communication is reflecting that. Not everything in print is like that, but the people that you are selling to, not you, I mean the PSPs, the people that they have to sell to, their marketing side is thinking in terms of the digital world. So it's important for the people in the print industry to transform. You can't just keep the Gutenberg days. You have to be something else.
And if I remember right, in a very early phase, you also integrated the creative communities, giving them tools to have access to XMPie for the creative part of XMPie. Did that work very well from the very beginning, or was it a lot of work to explain why that makes sense or not?
I don't recall that there was a lot of work to explain. We emphasized creative because we were not transactional.
Yeah.
Okay, transactional is efficiency, is all the right data and the right time, etc., but very restricted creative. What we came up with is highly creative. By the way, echoed not on XMPie, but echoed generally, if you look at the communication from Adobe, they're all, of course, trying to promote the power of creative. So we went with the creative variability as an important element. I still believe it is very important and highly relevant. Did it work? I think overall, yes. Not every user of Adobe InDesign will know to invent how to design the variability. But it's like in every design agency and the design group. There is a marketing that says what they want to do, and someone creative says, how will we do it? And it goes back and forth. At least from our point of view, we enabled all of it. Whether we have enough, when I was there, we have enough customers that are actually practicing it. And you see very nice campaigns.
And I have to say, they have XMPie and especially you and your personal relation dedicated to really good people in the market. I had the opportunity to join several XMPie users group conferences. And how got your idea to create this, to organize this community? Was it a demand from your customers, or was it an offer by you to them?
I have to be honest here. So I didn't come from the side of understanding that it's important to have a user group. There were some people in my team, Dan Duron, for example, that said it's important to have a users group. And we started working on it, and we created it with the help of Barbara Pello and Kerry Sherborne. And when we were acquired by Xerox, we actually brought them a present on the table that there is a users group. We ran the users group several times. I think there is a missed opportunity there, because for a company like Xerox, we brought the group of people that are at the top edge of those that practicing digital printing, the people that really want to move forward, they want to change, well, from our point of view, from an XMPie point of view, we want to serve the whole industry. But for Xerox, and it was somewhat wasted.
Yeah.
But it was not my idea. The users group, I learned it. I became educated on it once we did it. Yes.
Yeah. And if I remember right as well, there was a little funny fact you told me once. When Xerox acquired XMPie, it was mainly about they want a web-to-print solution. And I think you said that at that time. And you started having a web-to-print solution, but then you got ahead. And now they got back in your history because they simplified XMPie, in my opinion. Was this an obstacle, or is it just an anecdote?
I think it's just an anecdote. I think when Xerox acquired XMPie, for some of them it was simply, it will be great that we will own it and it goes nicely with our iGen. for some of them with a broader vision and more risky attitude, they felt that with XMPie they can actually branch or open new markets. And what happened is reality, the balance between this and that and whatever other constraints. By the way, we had to manage, you reminded now of the acquisition, so I want to say something about it. We had to manage the fact, both Xerox and us, that we are serving everybody, not just Xerox. So I remember my friends at HP Indigo, not these guys, yes, Gershon, when we met with them after the acquisition, they said to me, they said, Jacob, we cannot work with you. You have an X. So we cannot work with you. I'm mentioning it because of this Epson EFI acquisition, because the question is how do you manage the fact that you acquire something, that the value that you acquire is because it's open for the whole industry. If you acquire and you kill it, it's a stupid acquisition. So I don't believe they're stupid. But in any case, they told me, Jacob, you have an X. And it required the leadership of a guy that you probably know, Alon Barshani, at HP, to tell them customers want them, and we will work with them, and they will not ruin our sales. It has to be the leader that comes and says, and that's what happened. And because even though under Xerox we served everybody, including our friends from HP, and I think it was very successful for all of us. So, but it required leadership also in this example on the HP side.
Maybe something totally different.
Yeah.
Did from the very beginning your family understood what you are doing? I have often the problem they don't get it, what I'm doing.
Well, I don't know if to be completely emotional here or not. Well, some of you know. My daughter, she was a student at the Technion, and my wife told me, you cannot afford not to take her. I said, no, I don't want to work with family. What will I do? I mean, I cannot fire her, etc., etc. So I took her, and she worked initially with, so that's apropos family. I'm relating to your family. She did a lot of good stuff, but the important thing is this. At some point in our development in XMPie, there was this issue of image personalization. You're all familiar with that. There was a thing, I think there was a company in Germany called Direct Smile or something, and there was another company in Germany. And so we had the pressure that we have to do something. They have this image personalization, and we do not have it. And I stood before the whole audience of the group of XMPie, and I showed them something that you can do with InDesign. And I said, this will be our way. We are finishing this Friday pizza, etc. My daughter came to me and said, you lie. You cannot do it like that. And so she took the initiative, checked Photoshop. This is about family. Checked Photoshop, and she found how to do image personalization automatically with Photoshop. And so my co-founders, Reuven and Israel, they said, Jacob, she's right. And that's how image personalization came to be as part of XMPie. So yes, I had some family involvement, but they understood, yes, yeah.
And did they like the fact that you are running around the world like an email sometimes? Because it's not easy to manage such an international business.
I was supported perfectly. Okay. They didn't bother me with some of this. It's unique. I appreciate it very much, including you come to well, I'm talking, I don't know if too much, but you're in the middle of being acquired, and what should be the situation, and so you consult with your partner, with my wife. Yeah. What do you say about this? What do you say about that? And so yes, they were involved, and I had some tensions with the investors. I had a lot of, so yes, my family was involved. It's not solo.
Cool. I think that's very useful.
Okay.
Good. For all of us. For all of us. Thank you to your family.
Thank
Special
you.
applause. By the way, if somebody has a question, raise
Yes,
up your hand
any question, yes.
and ask. You're welcome to ask also during those other conversations. You left XMPie, or you retired, but you are not retired in that sense. Couple of years ago, almost 5 years ago, right?
The easy mechanism to separate from Xerox was to retire.
Yeah.
That's what I did.
And that is almost 5 years ago?
Middle of 2019.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so five.
And it's tough. In my heart, XMPie is always there, and I keep contact. But that's it. You have to let go.
You are still active.
Yes, I actually, I'm active. First of all, I spent a lot of effort in defining again the whole notion of VDP. I wrote an extensive paper, almost a book, like 70-some pages. So I'm still active on that. And just for the ending, I would say that, well, surprisingly, in the last year or two, I suddenly remembered some stuff that we did at EFI the early days, because I was in the founding team of EFI. And at that time, we worked about color, before color management was standard. We did certain things. And in the last year or so, I started looking at what's going on with technology. And I have to have that my head is rolling about maybe going back to what we did then, but with new technology. So yes, I'm active. I'm at least making sure my brain is working.
So, and a little bit, it's like going back to the roots. And is it something like rethinking what happened, or is it that there is a gap and you started something, it was not completed?
Well, just one anecdote. When I started running the R&D of EFI, so that's 1990. Okay, 1990, the first few years of EFI. At some point, I'm sitting there in San Bruno in the offices, and a friend of mine from Cornell, so we also got PhD, came to visit me. And I had to explain to him what are we doing, etc. Color conversion, device-independent color, colorants, etc. Lookup tables, a variety of things like that. That guy is telling me, Jacob, well, I don't know if you say Jacob, but let's say, Jacob, why don't you use AI? This is 1990, it's not ChatGPT, okay? I said, what? And I was not aware of anybody anywhere in the science community or not science community that even talks about AI in the context of this thing. So I told this guy, no, it's not. And I dismissed it, which is probably normal, but still, I dismissed the idea of using AI for color management. When you see what's going on today, your brain is starting to work again. That's the only hint.
That's good.
Okay.
So my last point, if you could be the master of the non-award, who would you like to award?
That's too tough.
It could be, you also can take people who are dead in the meantime, just to be polite. Yeah.
Not a good joke.
No, it's stupid to ask, do you have a personal hero? But it's leading in that direction. Is there somebody, maybe Efi Arasi?
I was influenced, like other people, I was influenced by people that I met through the stages in my career so far. Hopefully there will be some continuation, but who knows. In the early days, I was working with someone who passed away, Professor Amir Pnueli. He was a superstar in computer science, and he guided me in doing things in the early days. Once I graduated, this is a present made in heaven. So it taught me a lot of stuff in the initial career. I have to admit that Efi Arasi had a lot of influence. The relationship with Efi Arasi is complex. It's not always smooth. Conflicts. There are conflicts. And things like that. But essentially, I learned some stuff from him. One of the messages was, and excuse me, I'll say straightforward, as he said, he told me, Jacob, if I go, do not listen to marketing. And then he gave me the example. So it didn't mean literally do not listen to customers or to the market. He tried to say that when you are doing high-tech stuff, when you're doing something that involves a lot of technology, you have to be able to bring together the understanding of the technology and the understanding of the market. So it's not about just doing the technology and it will be fine. It's about understanding what can be done with technology and what the market needs or may need. And there are many examples beyond FERAZI, like Henry Ford. If I ask customers what to do, they want to have, I don't know, a fast, with horses, things like that. Similar things were said, I think, by Steve Jobs. And generally, not because I worked with them personally, but the heroes of the founders of Adobe, this PostScript, they changed the whole industry. Yeah. The whole industry was changed because of understanding of that's a major technology innovation. It's not simple to do what they did. And anyhow, so this was influencing also, but no, FERAZI is direct.
And by the way, those people were very nice human beings. John Warnock was a very sympathetic, heartful man. So thank you, Jacob, so much for being here. And the last thing I have to say, I did a little mind map with all my 3 honorees. And the mind map is, if you have the word print, just notice what could the P stands for and the R, I, and T. And Jacob did P for sure, it's personalization. R is real-time. I is innovation. N is natural. And T is transactional. And in that sense, if you do it as well, I think you have other words you relate to print. And this is the beauty for me about the diversity and the high value of print, because so many different fields are related to what we do. And I thank you, especially Jacob, for being so open-minded.
Can I say something about real time? Yeah. One of the biggest challenges in the highly creative VDP is how do you feed from composition through the RIP, how you go through this process while meeting the real-time requirement of the engine. If you're not ready with the next page, and the roll is going, you get a huge number of white pages coming out. So the trick, the critical thing is not just to enable highly creative upstream, but how to translate it to an efficient output stream and how to make the RIP doing a good job. And that's why I wrote real time. That's it. Cool. Okay, thank you.
So big applause. And
thank you very much.
I think, just a second.